This is Unit 5, Video 17, Calculating the Excess Reactant. So in the video prior to this, we learned about limiting reactants and how when we take two reactants together and whatever the reaction is, one of those reactants is going to run out. The reaction's not just going to continue on forever, so one will be a limiting, and whatever's left over means we're not going to completely consume the other reactant. We're going to consider the excess. So we figured out how to calculate what's the maximum amount of product we can use if we determine what the limiting reactant is. But sometimes we're going to need to calculate, well, how much leftover do I have of the excess reactant? Okay, and this is going to be useful in kind of in the pharmaceutical world, or even in the chemical world when we go out and they want to know, well, how much do we have left over? So what we're going to do is on the board, I've got the answers from the previous one. Our theoretical yield was 2.98 grams of CO2, so that was the maximum amount of product we could have made. Our limiting reactant was oxygen. Our excess reactant was ethylene. Okay, look at the limiting and the excess reactant. Notice they're not products, they are reactants. Okay, limiting and excess reactants can never be a product. We're comparing the reactants together. So what we're going to do is we are going to now, instead of comparing both of our reactants to a product, we're going to compare the two reactants to each other. Because if we run out of oxygen, I can figure out how much of the ethylene do I have left over. So we're going to start with our limiting reactant, which is 3.25 grams of oxygen, and we're going to compare it to grams of ethylene. So we need to get it into grams of ethylene. So first step is to get this into moles. Okay, now we're in moles of O2, which is going to let me switch into moles of ethylene. Okay, we get this from the balanced chemical equation, so this relationship is 3 to 1. Okay, now I am in moles of ethylene, which is going to let me go to grams of ethylene. Okay, so moles of ethylene needs to go on the bottom. We can go to grams of ethylene, which is 28.06. Okay, so if we go back and check ourselves, everything should cancel out. We should be left with what we want. Okay, we want to know how much of the excess reactant will be left over. So if you punch all this into your calculator, you will get 0.950 grams of C2H4. Okay, so what this is saying is that if I completely consume 3.25 grams, which we know we will because oxygen is the limiting, it will only use 0.95 grams in the reaction of ethylene. So oxygen will only react with this much ethylene before it runs out. Okay, so now what we can do is we can subtract this from what we started with. Well, we started with 4.95 grams of ethylene. Okay, so if I subtract how much I'm going to actually use in the reaction, we will get 4.00 grams of C2H4. Okay, so what this is saying is left over after my reaction's done, I'm going to have 4 grams of C2H4 left over in the